The investigation into the potential murder of Matthew Perry is still in full effect, and now a bombshell in that two celebrities are suspected to be involved. He seized an iPhone and a laptop from a famous woman's room at a sober living residence in LA and brought her in for...
I get the Three of Swords, which can signify at least three people who could be involved in the situation in some way, shape, or form.
Hello everyone. There is new information coming out that suggests Matthew's death may not have been accidental at all.
Who died in the hot tub at age of 54 had formed an unexpected friendship with the well-known woman after meeting her during one of his 15 rehab stints.
Instead, it appears that the people closest to him, those he trusted, were involved in a sinister plot that ultimately led to his demise.
Revealed that Matthew Perry had enough ketamine in his system for general anesthesia, so enough to have been operated on. So obviously that was such a high dose.
Behind the scenes, Matthew's life was far from the picture-perfect image many fans saw on screen. Throughout his career, he battled with addiction to alcohol and prescription drugs.
Very famous kind of line that people don't change. I happen to know that people do change, and I see that every day.
A struggle that he was open about in interviews and his memoir. Despite his personal demons, Perry continued to work in the industry, starring in various movies and TV shows and earning respect not just as a comedic actor, but as someone who fought hard to overcome his challenges. On the surface, Perry's death appeared to be a tragic but not entirely unexpected event. After all, he had been open about his battles with addiction and the toll it had taken on his health. When news broke that he had passed away, many assumed it was related to his long history of substance abuse. However, as authorities began to investigate the circumstances surrounding his death, disturbing details started to emerge. Initial reports indicated that there might be more to the story than just a tragic accident or an overdose. Rumors circulated that there were people in Matthew's life who may have played a direct role in his demise, prompting law enforcement to dig deeper into his last days. And this is where the story takes a chilling turn. The investigation led to the arrest of 3 individuals closely connected to Matthew Perry: his personal assistant, his doctor, and a woman now dubbed the Ketamine Queen. These arrests have raised serious questions about what really happened to Perry and whether his death was the result of a calculated and sinister plot. Let's start with his personal assistant. This was someone who should have been looking out for Matthew's best interests, someone he trusted to manage his affairs and help him navigate the day-to-day challenges of life. Instead, it's alleged that this person was involved in exploiting Perry's vulnerabilities for financial gain. According to reports, the assistant was not just complicit, but actively involved in facilitating the drug transactions that would eventually lead to Perry's death. This wasn't just about helping him score drugs, it was about pushing him further into addiction while siphoning off his money. Then there's the doctor. We often think of doctors as the people we turn to for help and healing. In Perry's case, his doctor was supposed to be managing his health and well-being, particularly given his history with addiction. But according to the allegations, this doctor was prescribing medications that Matthew didn't need, medications that would worsen his condition rather than improve it. The accusations suggest that the doctor was part of a broader scheme, prescribing drugs not based on medical necessity, but as part of a plan to keep Perry dependent and ultimately to keep the money flowing. Finally, we come to the so-called Ketamine Queen. This woman's involvement in the case is perhaps the most shocking of all. Known for her dealings in high-powered substances, she allegedly supplied Perry with ketamine, a drug often used in both medical settings and illicitly for its powerful dissociative effects. The Ketamine Queen was reportedly charging exorbitant prices, taking advantage of Perry's addiction and vulnerability. She wasn't just a dealer, she was a key player in a conspiracy to exploit and ultimately kill a man who was already struggling to stay afloat. As details of the investigation continue to emerge, it's becoming clear that the people closest to Matthew were not just enabling his addiction, they were actively plotting to destroy him. The motive? Money. It's alleged that these individuals saw an opportunity to drain Perry's considerable fortune by keeping him hooked on drugs. They thought it was amusing to see how much they could charge him for substances he didn't need, laughing all the way to the bank as they bled him dry. The more dependent Perry became, the more money they could extract from him. But this wasn't just about making a quick buck. According to the investigators, these individuals were so caught up in their scheme that they didn't care if their actions led to Perry's death. In fact, it seems that they were banking on it. By pushing him further and further into addiction to exploit their pain and suffering for financial gain is nothing short of monstrous. And yet that's exactly what the authorities believe happened in the case of Matthew Perry. The arrests of the personal assistant, the doctor, and the ketamine queen have sent shockwaves through Hollywood and the world at large. These were people who were supposed to care for Matthew, to protect him from the very dangers that ultimately claimed his life. Instead, they allegedly betrayed him in the worst possible way. The legal proceedings are still in the early stages, but the charges against these individuals are serious. They could face lengthy prison sentences if convicted, and many are calling for them to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. There's a sense of outrage among fans and the general public, a feeling that justice must be served for Matthew Perry. But even as the legal wheels begin to turn, there's a lingering sense of sorrow and disbelief. How could this have happened? How could someone as beloved as Matthew Perry have fallen victim to such a cold and calculated scheme? In the wake of these revelations, the public reaction has been intense. Fans of Perry who grew up watching him on Friends and who followed his career with admiration are heartbroken. Social media has been flooded with messages of grief and anger, with many people expressing their disbelief that someone they felt they knew so well could have been betrayed in such a cruel way. Celebrities and colleagues have also weighed in, sharing their own stories of Perry's kindness, generosity, and struggle with addiction. There's a sense of collective mourning, not just for the loss of an actor, but for the loss of a person who fought so hard to overcome his demons, only to be brought down by those he trusted most. This case has also sparked a broader conversation about the darker side of fame and the dangers that come with it. Perry's story is a stark reminder that even those who seem to have it all can be vulnerable to exploitation and harm. It's a reminder that addiction is a disease that preys on the vulnerable, but Matthew Perry's case stands out not just because of his fame, but because of the alleged circumstances surrounding his death. It's a chilling example of how the pressures of fame and the vulnerabilities of addiction can be exploited by those with ill intentions. This case has led to renewed calls for better support systems for those in the entertainment industry who are struggling with addiction. Advocates are pushing for more resources, more education, and more accountability to ensure that no one else falls victim to the kind of exploitation that Perry allegedly faced. There's also a growing awareness of the need for vigilance and care when it comes to those who are battling addiction. The public and the industry alike are being reminded that addiction is not something to be taken lightly, and that it requires compassion, support, and understanding, not exploitation. As we continue to follow this story, one thing is clear: the death of Matthew Perry is a tragedy on many levels. It's the loss of a talented actor, a beloved public figure, and a man who, despite his struggles, brought joy and laughter to millions. But it's also a tragedy because of the betrayal he faced in his final days. A betrayal that, if the allegations are true, contributed to his untimely death. The legal process will play out in the coming months, and we'll be watching closely to see how justice is served. But even as we seek answers and accountability, it's important to remember Matthew Perry not just for the way he died, but for the way he lived, for the laughter he brought to our screens, the honesty with which he shared his struggles, and the legacy he leaves behind. That is all for this video. We will be back soon with another informative video. Don't forget to like and share this video. Until next time.